everybody. Welcome to Inside the Album, the podcast where we do a deep dive into your favorite classic rock albums and talk about all the stories about the recording of that album and the songs and the band and what was happening. I'm Don Seckler. That's Tommy Hilkin. How's it going, Tom?
Don, sounds like you had your Cocoa Puffs today, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He's fired
up.
Up
and at 'em. We record this at like 4 a.m., just so everybody knows. Tom's an early bird.
One of us does. That's great.
So today we're going to dive into the album, the first album, debut album by the Pretenders, which is called Pretenders. I'm super excited about it. One of my all-time favorite records.
Great album.
And but my favorite thing about Inside the Album is that we get to work with a great charity that is music related. So tell us all about Music for Mark.
No, thank you. And Don, as usual, good to see you. And Music for Mark, it's what we're doing for people is the reason we're doing the podcast. Pay some attention to Music for Mark. We're bringing music to the world through kids. You know, Don and I have always loved the music and everything about it. So what we're doing is we're bringing musical lessons, musical instruments, any way we can. We're bringing them to kids in schools and programs where if they don't have a guitar, they don't have a keyboard, they don't have a kazoo. You know, it's kind of funny. I was talking to Cliff Barone the other day, and he said you can start with kazoos, and it is a cheap way to do it. But if you would, Don, tell everybody that we're welcoming used instruments. Go ahead.
Yeah, anybody has any used or just neglected instruments that have been sitting in a corner in your one room or in your basement, let us know. We'd be happy to repurpose that and get it in the hands of somebody who wants to get started in learning about music.
Yeah, let's keep the music going.
Yeah, so check out musicformark.com. And I have to remind you, if you are listening, give us a like, give us a review. It's all very, very helpful. Click the buttons, do the things. Like us on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube. We have video there. And on InsideTheAlbum.com, you can check out, we have every episode of the podcast. Plus, you can get one of these really cool t-shirts.
Nice.
And it's so much fun. So we're happy to have you aboard. And let's get started with the Pretenders.
I'm all in.
So the band is made up by, probably most people know Chrissie Hynde is the lead singer, rhythm guitarist, vocalist, lead songwriter. Drummer is Martin Chambers, who still plays with Chrissie today. Pete Farndon was the bass player, and James Honeyman Scott was the lead guitarist and played a lot of the keyboards on the record. Awesome. So this album was released December 27th, 1979. So perfect Christmas gift. I love it because it starts off with a real kind of super aggressive punk song, and we'll get into that in a second. But it definitely was an album that really kind of brought the real punkier rock music to the forefront in 1979, 1980. But it also does it with a bit of a pop edge, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. So on the charts at this time, 1980, we had Billy Joel, Glass Houses was a huge record. You had Emotional Rescue, which is kind of the Rolling Stones disco record, I guess, for lack of a better term.
I remember it well.
Yeah. You had AC/DC, Back in Black, which we've discussed before.
Yeah.
And there was also Bruce Springsteen's The River was released in 1980. So it was, very interesting time on the charts. And this album actually did really, really well. It debuted at #1 in the UK album chart the week of its release. And then it stayed there for 4 consecutive weeks. It also made the top 10 on the Billboard 200 in the US and was certified platinum during 1982. Rolling Stone ranked the album at number 155 on its list of the 500 greatest albums of all time.
Wow.
So, it's often looked at as one of the best debut albums of all time. I mean, I think you look at things like Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses, the first Van Halen record, this record. There's a lot of great debut albums out there, but this one is, to have an album as a first record that is this strong, there's not a bad song on this record. It's just an amazing, amazing record.
Amazing record. And you surprised me by saying 155 out of 500, right? I wouldn't have put it up there, but tremendous album.
Yeah, and it was there's a connection here to the Clash, which we'll talk about as we go into the music a little bit. But Chrissie Hynde was originally from Ohio, had gone to London and was in the music scene there, and so that's how the band was started. So it's kind of a mix of British and American people in the band, and I think I don't know that really affected the music much. It's definitely Chrissie Hynde's voice. It's her style, her sound is this album really.
I thought of that. Yeah, I played it yesterday, and I said the same thing. Her voice makes the album.
And there weren't, at this time that there were a lot less female artists. So you had like Heart, in the 70s. You had Blondie, yeah, you had Blondie, you had Pat Benatar in the early 80s, right? So there were a few of the ladies who were out there, but most of them, Blondie, I guess, started out as a punk band too, but and Pat Benatar was kind of edgy rock, but still. This one really kind of is almost, there's the first song is kind of a spit in your face song, so it was, I think it's a really important record in the life of, kind of hard rock and punk edge music.
Yeah.
And so let's take a look at the album cover here. You see the band, and I see this as kind of like cleaned up punks. So they're still a little edgy in their leather, but they look pretty pristine. Martin's wearing the tie. Chrissie Hynde's got the red leather jacket. So they look kind of like almost like Hollywood punk,
Yeah.
It's not the same as what the look that like the Sex Pistols had with the torn shirts and the safety pins and all that stuff.
It's like the Breakfast Club punk. We're starting to make that transfer.
Right. It's a little bit more middle of the road. And part of this, and I'm going to come back to this again because a big part of the record is that Chrissie Hynde started to have a real interest in pop music. And so they came up as a punk band, and there were, and I'll tell you the story about the Clash in a little bit, but they came up as a punk band, but the songs, some of these songs are super poppy, but still great songs. I love it. Great record.
Yeah, it's a good mix. It really is. That's what makes the record so listenable, if you want to put it that way. It really is.
Yeah. And we talked a little bit about like accessibility in the past and having songs that the general public can kind of attach to. And that's how you have the major success, and you get those big selling albums. Interesting fact. So Nick Lowe was also friends with Chrissie at the time.
Yep.
He actually came in and produced the first single, which was Stop Your Sobbing, but then decided not to work with them anymore because he thought the band was not going to go anywhere. So, I think, at the end he said, "What do I know?" Because the album was a mega hit. It was so popular and sold so many copies that they were really, he was really shocked by it. But it's kind of like, I think she asked him as a friend, and he's like, "Yeah, okay, I'll do it to help you out," type of thing. But then he was like, "All right, enough of this. I'm moving on." And they had somebody else produce the rest of the record.
Interesting, because that's a super poppy guy right there, Nick Lowe. Come on.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's weird is, he is such a pop songwriter, I mean, he's rock, but he's still, it's always a pop edge rock. Yeah. All right. So let's dive right into this. I'm super eager to get started on this one. We're going to start off with the title track, which is Precious.
The way you cross the street, 'cause you're precious. Moving through the Cleveland heat, how precious. You're taking nights and all the kicks are so precious. But you know I was shitting bricks, 'cause I ain't precious. Make me wanna, make me make it.
So this
Yeah.
one, yeah, it's, so this is okay. This is in your face, boom, boom, boom. And it kind of, to me, it's kind of like a restrained aggression.
Right.
It's not like it's in your face, but it's not like over the top with it. I don't know how to describe it. It sounds more threatening than some songs that are a lot angrier than it, I think.
Well, Chrissie Hynde, now you're talking about that. You don't know if she's threatening or not. She was always an interesting persona, right?
Yeah.
Can you get close? Can you not get close?
Well, she's got kind of a super sultry voice, right? It's a very sexy, but she's a tough girl, she's you don't know if she's going to kick your ass or make out with you, or
both.
Or both, right? Yeah, it's very so it's still that kind of punk ethos. And so, we're not going to play the whole thing, but the song builds up into that one point. She's like, I'm not too precious. Or she goes, what is the line? Oh, but not me, baby. I'm too precious. Fuck off. So, and that was like, boom, it's just like, it's so total punk thing. And when something like this, it's a little reserved on the record live. Back in the day, it was a crazy aggressive song. But the whole buildup of it to me is what is really impressive. So it's kind of aggressive without being like over the head smashing, but it builds up to this whole kind of, what would you say?
Well,
climax.
Oh, there you go. I like how you went climax. But anybody who could sit down and squeeze the word shitting bricks into the lyrics, yeah, because you just don't hear people say I'm shitting bricks anymore.
Well, yeah, and that this was, again, this is 1979, 1980. Yeah. This type of stuff was not said. You didn't say curse words on records, otherwise they bleeped it and wouldn't play it. The one word, the line about the, baby, not me, baby, I'm too precious, fuck off. Allegedly, the line was, but not me, baby, I'm too precious, I had to fuck off. But supposedly Chrissie Hynde swallowed the words "I had to" as she was singing it.
Oh, nice.
That's the story. I find that hard to believe because the song, it seems so deliberate,
Yeah, it's definitely a fuck off kind of thing.
Yeah, right. So it was definitely planned. It's their first, they're in your face. It's, hey, here's this album 2 days after Christmas. Merry Christmas, America.
There you go.
But it sets the tone for this band. And so now you don't know what's going to come next. And, and what does come next is a pretty good mix. So let's listen to song number 2. This is The Phone Call.
Yes.
So this one too, and this song for me highlights this was kind of the whole album has this real modern sound to it for the time, of course. So right. The sound of these songs was so different for the time. And this one is to me, still fairly punky. It gets a little poppier when you get into that middle riff there. But Chrissie Hynde was living in London kind of as a starving artist, just kind of trying to make her way with her music before the Pretenders. And she started hanging around with the guys in The Clash. And so she became friends with them, and she kind of just tagged along on their first tour.
Wow.
And that's when she wrote a bunch of these songs on that tour, and this is one of them.
That's great.
Yeah, so interesting stuff with her and the Clash. All right, let's dive into track number 3. This one is called Up the Neck.
Senses running amok, bewildered and deluded. Have I been hit by a truck? When my tongue lay inside his teeth, felt like the time in the womb. But I woke up with a headache, with my skull alone in the room. I got down on the floor with my head pressed between my knees. Under the bed with my teeth sunk into my own flesh. I said, baby, oh, sweetheart.
So this one, Up the Neck, is this harrowing tale of a druggy one-night stand in a seedy section of Cleveland where Chrissie Hynde grew up. It's catchy, but it's got this, the lyrics are pretty out there in terms of, shockingness and what they're talking about. But it's also kind of sexy too. So it's this kind of continual, all these songs have that kind of, and it's just that Chrissie Hynde vibe. Like it's this whole chanteuse kind of, sexiness, right?
I would, if I knew what chanteuse was, I'd be okay. Yeah, so good for you, Don Seckler.
I'm not sure if I know what it means either.
Yeah, it is.
But it's like this woman in a guy's world, right? And in the the rock and roll world was a man's world at the time, and she's got a little bit of her sexy side, but she's also a tough chick.
A little bitter. Yep. But you're starting to hear, right here is the first time I started to hear that Pretender sound, right?
Yeah.
You could start to see the development of who they are and what their sound is. I don't know if this is the first song where you hear it, but it's the first one I've heard on the album so far that you can connect with all the other Pretenders music that comes along.
Yeah, it really is. It is. I think you're right. Because it really does kind of define that style that they have and that they continue to do over the years.
Yeah. And you know what? I guess the world was ready for this because there's nothing spectacular, nothing outrageous about the music behind it, but except for Chrissie Hynde. I mean, literally.
Yeah. The lyrics are a little, scary for mainstream America, but that was their kind of punk edge, and so it's not all sunshine and roses and teddy bears with these guys.
No. Sunshine, roses, and teddy bears, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so this next song is interesting because it's got a little bit of a kind of a classic rock piece to it. Mm-hmm. So this is track number 4. This is Tattooed Love Boys.
The mid-20 joys around her heart's black and blue, the two love boys. I tore my knees up getting to you cause I needed to find out what the thing was for. I've been reading, man, the time came to explore. I went haywire cause I thought like I like it, little tease, but I didn't mean it. But you mess with the good stall, you gotta pay. A good time was guaranteed for one and all. The tattoos, target practice in the hall while waiting.
So this one starts out, it's super punky here. You know, you got that kind of that weird, I don't know, it's not that really the breakdown part, but where the drums are like going, you know, and so it's still, this got that punk edge. All right, so I want to play this one section with the guitar solo because like, you can hear this kind of classic rock influence, and I'll explain what's going on here.
I was a good time. Yeah, I got pretty good. Changing tires upstairs, bro. I shot my mouth off and you showed me what that hole's for. Now.
Very classic rock, right? Little kiss in there. Little Van Halen. So that whole section, that guitar, the solos section, is Jimmy the guitar player. It's his tribute to his rock guitar heroes.
Wow.
So you get a little bit of, you know, and I'm not sure exactly who they all are, but to me it sounds like you had a little Van Halen there with the switch on and off. The way they do that is they have a pickup and they have one pickup off, the other pickup's on, and they flip the switch between the pickups. So it sounds like it's going on, off, on, off, on, off. So it's like, but then I heard some Kiss in there and some other stuff. But it's interesting that this, again, is another pretty punky song. You know, the lyrics are very aggressive and a little bit dirty. And then the music is as well.
I love you, man. I really do.
I'm like Ward Cleaver.
the lyrics are a little dirty, but you know what? What's great is, you know, Chrissie Hynde, right? If I was to explain, she's got the fine art of talking and singing down. Her song, she talks, she sings, she talks, she sings, she talks.
Yeah,
right.
It works. It works. Though. Yeah, it totally works.
It's completely different, but a lot of times she's just talking at a quicker pace.
Yeah, you know, and you see that. I think you see that. You know, there are. I think there are some bands that do it more often than others, but yeah. But to me, you know, again, it's the punk stuff here is really, really great because it's also very melodic as well. So there's also. It gives the songs another quality when it can have the punk edge and the really great melodies on top of it. I think that, you know, makes an amazing song.
More than 3 chords.
Little more. Yeah, just a couple more.
That's okay. It helps. It changes everything. when you think about it, right? Melodic and going from punk to melodic, you know, we always talk about it. It's rock and roll. Yeah. But all it is maybe 1 or 2 more chords that you wouldn't hear from a
couple extras. Yeah, but you got to build that melody. You know, if the melody's not there, it doesn't have the catchiness. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
And I think especially a lot of this is her influence in where she's starting to like the pop music a lot more, and so that kind of came into that. And we haven't seen it yet, but we'll see it in the next few songs. We'll see some of the more popular songs.
Welcome to the 80s.
Yeah. So let's dive into track number 5. This one is called Space Invader, and this is an instrumental. So this one, it's an okay song. It's not my favorite. They call it Space Invader because down the road there's some sound effects from the Space Invader video game, which, that was the 70s, right?
It was huge. That and asteroids.
Yeah, right. So everybody was familiar with that. They built that into the song. Yeah, it's okay. It's not my favorite.
Well, here's my question for you. Throw it around. It's when people do an instrumental, is it that they have the music written and just have no idea how they're going to get lyrics in there, or
I guess
you don't
so.
see it much anymore? You don't.
No,
see
you don't see. I mean, you see some instrumentals in metal, but not that frequently.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, what's the process? Is it I just don't have any lyrics to go with this, and all right, well then it's done.
Right. You can't just sit there going Space Invader, Space Invader. Right? But I always wondered that. It's like when you see an instrumental on an album, is it just to fill time, or is somebody really thought that the music was that good that it was worthy of a slot on the album? It's interesting.
I bet you 90% of the time it's just like, that's all we got. All right, go with it.
Yeah. I got nothing that fits this.
I got nothing that's going to go in here.
And there was a fight over it. No, man, I really like it. I want it on the album.
All right, let's move on to the next one, which is not an instrumental. This is track number 6. This is called The Wait. Much better song than the last one. So this is another one of those songs that was written while she was on tour with The Clash. And I like this one a lot. I love the riff.
Yeah.
To me, it's a straight ahead rock song.
Great song. And certainly a great live song.
Yeah. And a great driving song.
Yeah.
It's a good one behind the wheel. Really gets you going over the speed limit.
I was just thinking about this album as I'm sitting here. It's like, this album was right time, right place. It was came in at the right time towards the end of punk, going into, a whole new era of music. It's kind of like, it was like the bridge kind of, sort of.
It was in a way,
Yeah.
and it's very, again, we always talk about we talked about last year about how different last week about how different sounding the album was for the time. And this is another one that, it wasn't anything that had been done before. It was a brand new sound. It was fresh. It was clean. And it had a bit of aggression and edge to it. But it also had great songwriting.
It not only, like we were talking about the Ramones a few weeks ago, the fact that, it really wasn't mainstream. We thought it was a lot bigger how many albums they sold. So this has got the punk and the mainstream people buying the album.
Right. Yeah. And, the songs that are coming up are, the biggest hits on the album, and probably the Pretenders' biggest hits of all time, I think. But also it was mixed in with this stuff with more aggression and not me, baby, I'm too precious, fuck off.
Yeah.
Which is a great combo for me, because I love the pop. I'm not a huge pop music guy, but I could appreciate a good pop song.
And if you could just cut that out and send it to me, what you just said, that would be fabulous.
Are you going to start using it on all your videos?
That's what they're all going to start with that.
Nice.
That's great.
All right. Next song up is number 7. And this one is a cover of The Kinks. This is Stop Your Sobbing.
It is time for you to stop all of your sobbing.
So good.
Oh.
It is time for you to laugh instead of crying.
So, Chrissie Hynde loved the Kinks and, wanted to do this cover song. The song actually led to a relationship between Ray Davies and Chrissie Hynde.
Oh, yeah.
And they had a child together.
Yeah.
And this song was actually one of the 3 demos that they gave to Nick Lowe, and so helped him decide to help out on this record. And it became the A-side for the first single that they ever released.
Wow. Singles.
Yeah,
Great tune.
Yeah.
Great Kinks tune. Great Pretenders tune.
Yeah,
Both
definitely.
great versions. Yep.
Good performance. Okay song. I'm an okay fan with this. It's not my favorite. I like the more aggressive stuff on this record, but I think they did a good job with it.
People have had success turning Kinks songs into hits. Think about it, right?
Yeah, the Kinks, and even today, the Kinks still get covered a lot. So, there are bands out there that are covering. I've seen bands cover. What the heck song was it? I forgot. But I've seen a fair amount of Kinks cover songs recently.
Well, you really got me. Van Halen put them over the top.
Right. Oh yeah,
Put them over the top.
Yeah.
That was maybe their number 1 top hit. It was up there.
Yeah, Better Days is the song I was thinking of. That's been covered by a bunch of bands, and so that's interesting as well.
What a great song that is. But
Yeah.
we'll get to that another day.
In Better Days.
Yeah, we haven't touched the Kinks yet.
Not yet. Yeah, that's true.
I look forward to it.
We'll
Yeah,
have to do one of those.
I'd like that.
All right, number 6 is an interesting song. This song is called "Kid."
My favorite. Love this.
Kid, what changed your mood? You got all sad, so I feel sad too. I think I know some things you never outgrow. You think it's wrong. I can tell you do. How can I explain? You don't want me to.
So it's kind of a 50s rockabilly vibe, right? With that guitar sound.
Little twanging guitar,
Yeah.
Dwayne Eddy.
Little Dwayne Eddy,
Little Dwayne Eddy.
even
Yeah.
like Dave Edmunds. Was Dave Edmunds out before this? Probably just starting, right?
Dave Edmunds and Nick Lowe, they were all there.
Nick
Yeah.
Lowe, the same group of people.
Oh, yeah.
The story is about a kid discovering his mother's a prostitute. And it's such a, if you listen to the lyrics, but it's such a happy like on a sunny day kind of vibe to it, right? The beat and the sound.
Yeah, kid, your mama's a hooker.
Yeah,
great.
basically.
Yeah, that's good.
So, but it's her telling the kids, which is even crazier. But, so it's interesting that it's such a pop and such a happy beat with such a, kind of depressing subject matter.
It's a great storytelling song. And I always enjoy those when it's not just so much lyrics that there's a story flowing through it. I've always loved that.
Yeah, that's always great.
Yeah.
All right.
Great song.
Yeah, so let's dive into actually the kind of reggae track on the song. This is Private Life.
There you go.
I mean, they make it a little kind of new wavy, right? But still got that reggae beat.
Oh, yeah.
Private life drama, baby, leave me out. Your private life drama, baby, leave me out. Your private life drama, baby, leave me out. Your private life drama, baby, leave me out. daily glond with your theatrics, your acting's a drag. It's okay on TV cause you can turn it off, but don't try me. Yes, your marriage is a tragedy, but it's not my concern. I'm very superficial, I hate anything official.
And there's that kind of talking thing that you were talking about before.
Yeah.
But so Chrissy was in London, and like she said, like all of the other punks, I wanted to do reggae, so she wrote Private Life.
Let me tell you, man, it's just right now. I just said there is nothing I couldn't listen to her do.
Oh, I know. She's so good.
I'm good. Enchanting. How's that?
Yeah.
Her voice. It truly is, man.
And
it's,
you know, she's got the swagger and the style and the voice of like a Joan Jett or Lita Ford, you know, the Runaways girls or you know, some of those female artists that had edge back in the day.
Yeah, look, their persona had edge.
Yeah.
But her singing is her and her only. It truly is.
Yeah. Oh, her voice is just amazing.
Amazing.
And you know, it really, really brings these songs to life.
I have to tell you, I just said anything, whatever, if she was reciting poetry, I'd want to sit there and listen to it.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. What a voice.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
All right. So let's dive in now. We got we're down towards the end of the album. We got the last 3 songs, and 2 out of the last 3 are actually the biggest hits that the Pretenders have ever had, maybe outside of like Back on the Chain Gang, which was a huge hit for them in the 80s.
Yeah.
But this next one is Brass in Pocket, which everybody knows.
Great tune.
Got brass in pocket. Gunpowder, I'm gonna use it. Intention of feeling mental, gonna make you notice. Got motion, restrained emotion. I've been diving, detour leaning, no reason. Just seems so pleasing. Gonna make you notice. Gonna use my arms, gonna use my legs, gonna use my style, gonna use my side step, gonna use my fingers, gonna use my imagination. 'Cause
So when they recorded this song, Chrissy Hynde said that she didn't think it was very good. She was like, you know, she's like, well, what is it? Is it pop? Is it Motown? Is it rock? So she felt like the song had like no direction. It was kind of all over the place.
Right.
And she said she used to cringe when she heard her voice on those early recordings.
Well, yeah, I can understand that. Most
But it's
people
so
don't like to hear
good.
themselves. So good.
Yeah, and her voice is one of the best things about these records. Like you were just saying, you know, you could listen to it for hours.
Dude, I just love when she sings, nobody else here, no one like me. Just perfect.
So good. Such good.
Yeah.
And she is, you know, that's the other thing. I think she's a really underrated lyricist as well.
Oh.
But this song actually went to #1, so it was a hit for them.
Wow.
And it really kind of brought the Pretenders out to the mainstream at the time.
And the good news about it is, like you were saying, Billy Joel had Glass Houses and this became #1. So rock and roll was still alive. Thank God.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And, you know, at first Chrissy Hynde was fighting with the producer who, the guy who replaced Nick Lowe was Chris Thomas. And she's like, this goes out over my dead body.
Wow.
And, you know, then it goes to #1. So she's like, well, what do I know? You know? Okay. So nobody knows anything here.
Well, that's not, believe it or not, it's not your job. That's why you have producers, record producers, you know, guys like George Martin. They got a better ear for what the public wants, not what you want. You know.
Well, I think it's in the end, it's a little more objective because these songs, you know, people say the songs are like your kids, and so you always think they look good and are doing well, you know, regardless of what the neighbors think.
Is that your kid?
So the story, the brass in pocket thing, it was just a funny phrase that she had heard with the band, who were all British. One of the guys in the crew had just picked up his pants from the dry cleaners, and somebody said, "Was there any brass in the pockets?" And it was a British term, I guess. And so she had never heard it before and thought it was a cool phrase. And that's something, again, that we hear repeated. Like, people will hear a phrase and go, "Oh, that's neat. I got to work that into a song."
Yeah, I got brass in pocket, and there comes the song. Amazing.
Yeah, so that's where that comes from.
Great tune. You know, as poppy as you might think it is, it's just a great song.
Oh, yeah.
Great song.
Yeah, amazing. Love it.
Yep, me too.
All right, so let's move ahead to the next track. This one is called Lovers of Today.
Whoa.
Little reflective, right?
No, no doubt.
Talk to my baby. I said no, baby, please don't cry. No, baby, please. 'Cause all of the leaves come down every time babies cry. All of the leaves come down. Sleep tight now. Hush, baby, sleep. All of the birds start to sing every time babies dream.
So this one, fairly mellow, but again, that gorgeous voice just makes the song. And, you know, I kind of love this one as well.
Yeah, me too.
At the end of it, she kind of laments being a woman in a male-dominated rock world. So she says, "I'll never be a man in a man's world." And again, so it's kind of that girl in, you know, punk rock fighting against the world here.
Well, it's for real, you know. Someday we'll talk about the Runaways. They had no chance.
Yeah, exactly. And,
Zero.
you know, it's so different now than it was back then. Back then, when you were, you know, the girl in a band, you were the huge exception. It was very rarely seen.
No doubt.
You know, and you're right. It killed some of those early bands.
You know who would have killed this song? I'm just sitting here dreaming about if Amy Winehouse would have sang this.
That would be amazing, right?
Yeah, because it's right. I was hearing it. I'm like, Amy Winehouse came later, but you could hear it. A perfect fit because there's somebody. Oof, I love her.
Yeah, it's definitely a song that highlights a great voice, you know, right. And that's what it does here for Chrissie Hynde. I love it.
And the passion and the feeling behind it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, so let's head on to number 12. This is the album closer. To me, this is like one of the great closing tracks of any record of all time. But let's take a listen. It's Mystery Achievement.
Yes.
love about this song is how she's her own backup. So they've got her voice backing up her. Just amazing. This song, from the opening with the bass and drums to the guitar riff coming in to the vocals, just amazing song. Was super popular for them, and just a great way to close out this record.
Just so good to listen to, and again, share it with everybody all the time. You got to sit back and listen to these albums. Just listen to them. Don't just put them on. Listen to them.
Yeah, and this is a great one to go straight through. There's not a bad song on this album.
Just
so good.
Yep.
So that's Pretenders by the Pretenders. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, everyone.
Next week, Tom, we are gonna get a little bit more into some more punky stuff, but we're going up into the 90s.
Where are we going?
We're going to Nevermind by Nirvana.
Oh my God. I just was.
Have you ever heard that one?
I was just discussing it yesterday.
Oh, really? All right.
Oh yeah. I did a trivia contest and that was one of the questions.
Nice.
Right? Yeah,
nice.
Baby. I'm ready.
So I'm excited. That's a great album.
Dude, I can't wait for us to cover Devo.
Devo.
Yeah,
so which Devo record? Do you have a favorite?
Well, I have a favorite Devo song. It's called Blockhead. I don't know if you know Blockhead.
I do.
Best. Oh, the best. Dude, one of my favorite songs of all time. Squared off, 90-degree angle, flat top. The best. Blockhead.
Awesome.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
All right,
like, subscribe. We'll see you next week.
Yes. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right.